Hi, thanks for dropping by. My name's Nightshifter. Today we're going to play some Baldur's Gate. It's not going to be a playthrough, it's going to be just a technical, if you're new to the game, how do you create a character in Baldur's Gate? I know with the popularity of Baldur's Gate 3 coming out, people are getting back into these games. This is one of my all-time favorite games. Now, I just got the Enhanced Edition, and I love it so far. I haven't played it through all the way, but I played this game a great deal in the early 90s when it came out. It's one of my favorite all-time games. The reason it's based on the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, which is the rule set that I grew up with. It's 2nd edition, more or less. If you're familiar with 3rd edition or 5th edition, they are completely different. This game is very, very difficult as far as you're very limited in certain ways. But to me, that makes it more challenging, makes it more interesting. But you'll see as we go along. Let's get into it. We're going to single game, new game. Okay, first thing you're going to do is select your gender, which doesn't make any difference. Makes no difference at all. Now, let's say I want to make a, I don't know, we'll just, first one that appeals to me. Alright, we'll take that guy. Now, these are your races. Now, as you'll see, a human can be just about anything, but he cannot multi-class. Now what that means is, if you choose an elf can multi-class. You see here, fighter mage, fighter thief, fighter mage thief, blah blah blah. A human can't do that. What a human can do, however, is what's called dual classing. And dual classing is basically you will play a class to a certain level, whichever level you want, and then you switch to a different class. So say you start off as a fighter and you change to a cleric at level 7. Well, you don't have any fighter abilities. You're basically a cleric, a level 1 cleric, excuse me, until you get to level 8, or one level above where you switched at. So if you switched at 2, it would be level 3. Then you will get all your skills back. However, if you changed from a fighter to a cleric, you'll still only be able to use cleric weapons and that sort of thing. Anyhow, those are technicalities. But let's say human has the broadest range of classes. He can be any of these classes. Whereas other races, for instance a halfling, they can only be a certain amount of classes. Fighter, cleric, thief, or a fighter thief. And you might say, well, why is that? That's very limiting. But if you look at the stats that the race gets, they make up for that with they get a bonus with slings. They get all these bonuses to their different thieving skills. They get bonuses versus saving throws. Now see, in the 2nd edition rules, you didn't have will save, fortitude save, all of that. You had saves against particular attack types: paralysis, poison, death, rod, staff, wand versus spell. So characters like dwarves are very good against poisons and death, and they're very strong. They get pluses to constitution, but that's pretty much similar to how it is today. But gnomes, they can get 19 intelligence to start. They get saving throws. Half-orcs, they don't really get any bonuses, but they can get 19 strength, which is very nice. So basically, you're trading your versatility in classes for different bonuses to your character type. So one of my favorite things, let's make this. Let's do a dwarf cleric. That didn't really look like a dwarf. Let's go back a little bit. I think there's a good looking dwarf cleric over here somewhere. There we go. That looks like a dwarf cleric. Now, what this is going to tell you is they can wear helmets. They can wear any armor. That means plate, just like a cleric can. Non-bladed, non-piercing weapons. Warhammer, club, flail, mace, quarterstaff, sling. May only become proficient. What that means is, in this rule set, you have to be proficient with the weapon, otherwise you'll get a penalty for it. So they can be proficient in any of these weapons. but they cannot add points to it. You can in this rule set, you add points, or in this game I should say, it's how they translated the rule set to the game. You can have up to 3 points in proficiency. The second point is specialization, and the third point is mastery, and that gives you different bonuses. And you have different fighting styles like sword and board, single weapon, dual weapon, like that. They can turn undead, they can cast priests, and they get die 8 hit die. Okay, now you get subclasses. These are your evil priest, Talus. You can cast lightning bolt and stuff. Priest of Helm is one of my personal favorites. A lot of people don't like it, but I think it makes him basically a fighter cleric without having to be a fighter. Priest of Lathander is a basic healer. They're pretty good if you just want a healy priest. This one is good. The only problem with it is if you have a priest of Tyr who has higher than I'm sorry, it's this one, Tempest. Holy Power gives you 1800 strength, but if you're a half-orc who has 19 strength, that's going to be a penalty rather than a blessing. So you want to watch out for stuff like that. But let's say I'm not going to have 18 strength, so we're going to be a priest of Tempest, and I'm going to have to be chaotic good because I don't want to be neutral or evil. Now you come to your ability screen. And basically, since we're cleric, we're going to want wisdom. Now, down here, the nice thing about the enhanced edition is you got your total roll. That's very nice. In the older game, the game I grew up on, this was not there. So you had to sit here and count points and say, is this better than the one I just rolled? Which was time consuming and annoying, especially for a person like me who's kind of, I always want that one extra point to make my character better. But the way I'm going to show you tonight how I generate characters, which I think is one of the better, quickest ways to do it, is I take whatever first comes up, 81, and I'll store it. And what I'll do is I'll take everything down to 10, or as low. You see they have minimums and maximums. You want to find out what your mins and maxes are. That's 3, so we can leave that at 10. Alright, here he has a minimum of 1. That's not very good. 9, 3, 12, 2, and 8. Now what that tells you, those minimums, is that's the range of your die roll for each of these. So you can kind of guesstimate. In order to have 18s and everything, this will be 108. Now you can see I have 12 points left over here. So I'm first going to bump up my wisdom. It doesn't have to be 18, but I like to bump it up as much as I can. Constitution I want to have at 16. The reason for that is going to 18 doesn't help you in this rule set. If you're not a fighter, you don't get bonus hit points after 16. So since I'm not a fighter, 16 is my max. Dexterity, I want to max out as much as I can. Charisma, we can dump. And that's as high as 81 can get me. So I store that and I roll again and I look for something better than 81. 82. Well, I know that's only 1 point better. 85, I went too fast. I would have taken that, but basically what you're trying to do is get an average of what you're going to see. Now, I've seen 95s, 97s. It just depends, but since our mins are so low, that's such a wide RNG range, it's going to be hard to get a good roll on a character like this. But if you do get a good roll, see, if you do get a good roll, you can make a very good character with his dwarven bonuses. We'll put him up to 16, we'll put him to 14, we'll put him to 16, 16, and 12. And that's not a bad character, but I think I can do better than that. So we'll look a little bit more. 91, there we go, store that. Now, we bring his dexterity down to 16. We want to boost his wisdom up. 16 is probably good. He doesn't need intelligence, but as you can see, a character with intelligence score of 8 or less is illiterate and cannot use scrolls or wands regardless of his class. We do not want that. We want him to use scrolls and wands, so we'll keep it at 10. I want to boost his strength up as much as I can because he's going to be a fighter type. I want him to be not just a healer, he wants to be in the thick of battle. Dexterity is maximized at 17. We can dump that a little bit if we want to. Boost his charisma up a little bit. That helps out with store costs and stuff. I can boost that up. And that's actually not a bad starting character if you want to go with that. Now you could always try and get higher, but for me, I'm going to take that. Okay? Now you move to skills. And here, I'm going to choose Warhammer. And the reason Warhammer does 1d4 plus 1 damage. And a lot of people say, well, that's shitty. The other ones do, pardon my language. That's not good because other weapons do much more damage. He can do, you know, the flail of Morningstar does, the flail does 1d6 plus 1. The Morningstar does 1d8. Why wouldn't you want to take that? Well, I'll tell you, because if you look on the weapon, it'll give you a thing called speed factor. And what that determines is how fast you act in your combat. Now, the speed factor on a Warhammer is 3. The speed factor on a flail and a Morningstar is 7. On a mace is 7. Anything else is going to be higher than 3. What that means is you're going to hit your enemy before he hits you. And that is always good. And with his strength modification, 18, he's going to get a +2 to hit and I believe it's a +1 damage, or a +1 to hit, +2 damage. So he's doing decent damage, but he's going to hit first, which means he has a chance to kill the enemy before he can kill you. So, since he's a cleric, he can only get 1 point. He's proficient. You see here it says 1 slot. Character can use the weapon with no penalties. 2 slots, he receives +1 hit, +2 damage, and an extra half attack. Master 3 slots. Now only fighters can get mastery. Only fighter class. High mastery, only fighter class. There may be some character subclasses that can get mastery. I don't remember offhand if there are. But only fighters generally, the fighter class itself, base fighter class, can get mastery, high mastery, or grand mastery. Which is very nice. That's really the reason to take a fighter if you want to play a fighter. But we're talking about a cleric now. Now, since he's not going to use two-handed style, which his only weapon would be a quarterstaff. Sword and shield style that basically just gives you a -2 armor class when you have a shield on against missiles. You automatically get a whatever your shield bonus is, but you're going to get that on top of it. So, single weapon style is going to give you a -1 to armor class and a critical increase, 19 or 20, when you're only using a weapon and no shield. And obviously 2 weapons style is if you wanted to dual wield. Now I'm not going to be a dual wielding priest, and I'm probably not going to single weapon, although he could, but we're just going to go with sword and shield because he wants to be protected so he can heal the party. Now, these are your priest spells. We're not going to go through them, but I generally take Armor of Faith. It's very good. You get a bunch of bonuses, and you get damage reduction to many different types of things. Bless is good, but since I'm by myself right now, I don't need to bless myself too much. Cure Light Wounds. We'll take that. And he gets 1 more. And now he can take this, which gives him 2 die floor and a +1 bonus, which is good in the early stages of the game. Now, appearance, that's just appearance. And then sound, that's just...
You got this coming!
And then name. And we'll call him Kurgan.
Nestled atop.
And that's pretty
Top
much
of
it.
my to-do list.
There's your character, Priest of Tempest. Priest of Tempest level 1, experience, blah, blah, blah. These are all your proficiencies. You can check out your information, your class. Tells you all that. Your combat stats, what kind of damage he's going to do. He's looking at 3 to 8. Skills and abilities. And that is how you create a character on Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition. I hope this was informative. I hope if you pick up the game, I think you'll enjoy it. I'm loving it. I love this game. And thanks for dropping by. We're going to have a lot more videos. I'm going to make some Let's Plays, but I want to go through more technical and how to really get the most out of your gaming experience. So thanks for joining in, and I'll see you next time. Appreciate you. Good night.